The intermittent warfare between the Black Panthers and police erupted today in Los Angeles. There, a group of them, 3 women and 8 men, barricaded themselves in their headquarters and fought police with automatic weapons and hand grenades for 5 hours before surrendering. 3 policemen were wounded. The fight in Los Angeles came only 4 days after the shootout in Chicago, in which 2 Black Panthers were killed by police.
Early this morning, Los Angeles police moved on the local Black Panther headquarters to serve arrest and search warrants. They were met by gunfire. 3 policemen were wounded in the first shooting, and a long siege began. Everyone was ordered out of the area, and the battle went on sporadically for 5 hours. Police began to tear gas the building and threatened to go in after the occupants. Finally, a white flag emerged, and 11 men and women filed out.
White flag coming out the door.
3 of the occupants were wounded, apparently by police gunfire.
The white line right here. Put down behind the white line.
The others were photographed for the record on the spot and taken to jail. It turns out the Panther headquarters was a small fortress, complete with a sandbag bunker and automatic weapons. There were some escape hatches, but they weren't used today. Police said they've known for some time that the Panthers were storing illegal weapons, and they also expected the Panthers to use them. So 300 officers were assigned to this morning's raid. Los Angeles police officials said the evidence they had against the Black Panthers here was developed independently, that this raid had nothing to do with raids on Black Panther headquarters in other cities across the country.
The actions of the Los Angeles Police Department were taken as a result of action and intelligence gathered here in the city of Los Angeles.
Nothing related to Panther activities anywhere else in the country. Today's raid had nothing to do with Panther activities anywhere else in the country.
No, this action is strictly local, and it concerns only the city of Los Angeles.
But last week, Panther attorney Charles Gary said it's all part of organized harassment.
I'm satisfied that the United States government and the state authorities and state agencies are out to systematically commit genocide on the Black Panther Party.
And at the site of today's gun battle, many area residents and businessmen complained that the raid was designed to put fear in the black community. Los Angeles police made 2 other raids on Panther hangouts today, and there was no trouble at either location. Tom Brokaw, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Crowds have lined up daily outside the Chicago apartment of Fred Hampton, slain last week along with another Panther leader in what police described as a shootout. Various black and white civic groups and the American Civil Liberties Union all have called for independent investigations. They say that inspection of the apartment's interior, bullet holes, and other evidence disputes the official police version of what happened. The Black Policemen's Association says it has found serious discrepancies.
You men are members of the Chicago Police Department, and in your investigation you use the professional police methods to obtain this information?
Yes, we did. That's why we were asked in to assist the lawyers in their investigation, because we did have police expertise. And it's just unbelievable, the things that we observed, the things that we found. It's just a preponderance of evidence.
As an individual, are you convinced that the official version is a lie, that it is a case of murder?
Personally, I am.
The latest demand for an outside probe has come from the village of Maywood, 20 miles west of Chicago, where Hampton grew up and was well known. The predominantly white trustee board took the action last night, criticizing county and city police officials and asking for intervention by the Illinois Attorney General.
This blatant act of legitimatized murder strips all credibility from law enforcement. In the context of other acts against militant blacks in recent months, it suggests an official policy of systematic repression. The pious statements of State's Attorney Hanrahan concerning the brave response of the police against the vicious Panther attack, and his allusion to the grace of God concerning the sparing of the policemen, only makes the situation more macabre and terrifying.
By late today, thousands of people had walked through the West Side Funeral Home, where Hampton's body will remain until late tomorrow. Hundreds of others waited patiently to get in. By nightfall, there had been no official response to the demands for independent investigations of the incident. Bill Matney, NBC News, Chicago.
The Huntley Brinkley Report is produced by NBC News and brought to you in color by Wells, makers of fine jewelry, pierced earrings, and charms. Be sure of the quality. Be sure it's Wells.
Miss Joan Fontaine.
Gentlemen, if you want to give your best girl jewelry of real silver and 14-karat gold and be sure of the quality, be sure it's Wells. This lovely Wells pin is 14-karat gold filled with real hand-carved ivory and jade. And you can get the earrings to match. See all the beautiful Wells coordinates in your jewelry or department stores. Wells for fine jewelry, pierced earrings, and charms.
The remarkable unanimity which has characterized the work and the reports of the National Commission on Violence was terminated today when the group split 7-6 on the question of mass civil disobedience. The bare majority held that dissenters to any law should obey that law until the courts have ruled on it. The minority, including Chairman Dr. Milton Eisenhower, held that in some circumstances it is not immoral to disobey a law, and that individual test cases in the courts would not have brought about the recent gains in civil rights.
Chairman Eisenhower said he wasn't surprised at the disagreement on the commission. He said that philosophers and others had debated the limits of civil disobedience for centuries. Federal Judge Leon Higginbotham spoke for the minority, Houston lawyer Leon Jaworski for the majority.
There is a position that the majority points out that if one truly believes that a law is invalid, whatever may be his grounds or his beliefs as to invalidity, the courts are open to him to challenge that validity. If 4 or 5 have the right to disobey and it escalates to 500, where are you going to stop? And how many different groups that might have grievances are you going to recognize with respect to these disobediences?
You cannot rationally argue in any way that the 1964, the 1965, and the subsequent Civil Rights Acts were passed for any reason other than that many people, in a nonviolent way, constitutionally challenged these statutes and these practices.
The price you pay for these disobediences, we think, is infinitely greater than having to wait a time for the courts to pass upon the validity.
Now, I would think that people who have been on the receiving end, and that they are the ones who've been deprived, are perhaps a little less sympathetic to the long-term gradualism of the system being corrected. It was not nonviolent civil disobedience which caused the death of Kennedy, which caused the death of King. It is not nonviolent disobedience which causes, as a presidential commission found just last month, that 25 million people in this country are living below the federal government's poverty index. Now, those are the real tasks which face us in America. And I believe it's that our vigor in attacking those, rather than our vigor in attacking the protesters, which will save our society and make it the great nation all of us, majority and minority, want it to be.
Judge Higginbotham today also proposed a national moratorium on any more commissions to probe racism, poverty, crime, or urban crisis. He said as conditions get worse, the commission reports get better, and the follow-up is only some additional study or another commission. In the Chicago trial of 7 men charged with conspiring to incite riot during the Democratic Convention last year, a motion for acquittal by the defense was rejected by Judge Julius Hoffman. The motion came at the close of the prosecution's case, which required 10 weeks. Defense attorney Kunstler argued that the prosecution had failed to prove that the defendants conspired to come from other states to Chicago with criminal intent.
If you use a dandruff shampoo on Tuesday, but dandruff's back on Thursday, maybe what you've got isn't ordinary dandruff. Ask your doctor. Flaking and itching could be early signs of psoriasis, eczema, seborrhea. Tegrin medicated shampoo has an invisible medicated barrier that fights bacteria for days, plus a medication that helps control flaking and itching with just regular use. Try Tegrin medicated shampoo.
Thank you. I wear dentures, and I love lots of tea, but I don't have to worry about tea-stained dentures. I use Polident. No matter what I've tried, nothing pleases me more than Polident.
People keep coming back to Polident because no tablet, powder, or paste gives them the cleaning satisfaction of Polident. No wonder dentists surveyed recommend Polident over all other leading brands combined. No wonder denture wearers keep coming back to Polident.
The nuclear weapons talks between the United States and the Soviet Union were postponed today in Helsinki. The Americans said they needed more information, but they pointed out that these preliminary talks are going so well that they'll probably recess next week with an agreement on what weapons will be covered in later meetings. Secretary of State Rogers met in Paris with the United States peace negotiators and then told newsmen that Ambassador Lodge would be replaced if the talks showed any sign of movement. He didn't sound optimistic that they would anytime soon. South Vietnamese Senator Tran Van Don, who went to My Lai to investigate the alleged massacre there, said today his committee found no bodies, and he warned it was too soon to say whether there had even been a massacre.
It is believed that somewhere within a mile radius of this spot, the bodies of the so-called My Lai massacre are located, precisely where no one seems to know. And if American or South Vietnamese investigators do know, they aren't saying. The only thing they will say is that no effort has been made to locate the grave sites or to recover the bodies. They will not say whether such an effort will be made in the future. Survivors of the reported atrocity are equally vague. They point to 5 different locations at the same time when asked where the graves are located. This could mean that there might possibly be more than one grave site. Wherever the victims are, however, none of them appear to have been buried in established cemeteries, which is a strong South Vietnamese tradition. Burials are highly ritualistic affairs, and grave sites are considered honored ground. Therefore, it seems strange that no one knows where the victims are located. A mass grave should be easily enough located for anyone who is interested in finding it. Whatever the truth is concerning the My Lai massacre, it now seems clear that it will emerge in the United States and not in South Vietnam. Jim Bennett, NBC News, near My Lai.
Lieutenant William Cowley's lawyers filed a motion today at Fort Benning asking that all charges against him in the alleged My Lai massacre be dropped. Their reason was that he couldn't get a fair trial in any military court because of what they called the overwhelming, uncontrolled publicity in the case. Cowley has been accused of killing 109 civilians. There will be a hearing on the motion January 20th. The Army will decide this week whether to order a court-martial for Sergeant David Mitchell, who has been charged with assault with intent to kill at My Lai. Today, a special Pentagon board continued its hearing into the way the My Lai incident was investigated.
2 officers testified today, the intelligence officer assigned to Captain Ernest Medina's company and the commanding officer of the aviation battalion that helicoptered the men into My Lai. There's no indication of what the 2 officers said. They refused to talk to newsmen after their appearances. So far, no word yet on how long the inquiry will take, but the best guess is a formal report won't be completed for at least another 2 months.
On Capitol Hill, meanwhile, the Army conducted a briefing on Viet Cong and North Vietnamese atrocities. Most of the pictures were of men, women, and children slain during the Tet Offensive of 1968. About 2,700 persons were killed in the city of Hue alone. Representative Richard Eichord had asked for the public briefing to balance reports about My Lai.
As a member of the House Armed Services Committee, I have been officially advised many times that torture, mass slaughter of civilians, and other acts of terrorism are perpetrated regularly by the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese as a matter of official policy. Whatever the facts may be at My Lai, we know that the alleged acts were the acts of individuals committed in violation of official directions. Yet we see Hanoi using the My Lai affair to substantiate a charge of genocide against the United States while pursuing an official policy of civilian torture and murder.
There was little fighting reported today in Vietnam, but American sources said that a full division of North Vietnamese has moved into the Mekong Delta, and they forecast an enemy winter campaign there. The Justice Department said today that more than 300 young men a month are being prosecuted for refusing to be inducted. Only 3 years ago, the department added, 300 was the number for a full year. In Paris, Defense Secretary Laird hinted that President Nixon will announce a further troop reduction before the end of the year. He put the figure at 40,000 or more men. The White House made one thing clear today. The president will not announce any troop withdrawals at his news conference tonight. That conference, Mr. Nixon's first in almost 2.5 months, will be carried live by NBC News beginning at 9 o'clock Eastern Time.
Watch the new Homelight Easy, the only super lightweight chainsaw with the guts to take a tree 3 feet in diameter, just in case you should ever want to. It's ideal for limbing, pruning, and bucking, too. The new Easy is the lightest chainsaw Homelight ever built. Just 8 1/2 pounds, plus cutting attachments. And you wouldn't believe how easy it is to start. 2 fingers, lift, and away you go. You can cut up enough firewood in an afternoon to last you through the whole winter. The Homelight Easy is the chainsaw with professional performance, designed for the weekend woodsman. Visit your Homelight dealer soon and see how easy it is to be a weekend woodsman with a Homelight Easy.
Limited time offer. This carry case free when you buy a new Easy. Gift carton included. Homelight chainsaw dealers are in the yellow pages.
The Huntley Brinkley Report continues, brought to you by
Alpo Trio, 100% meat and nourishing meat byproducts dogs love. Doesn't your dog deserve Alpo in his diet? How do I keep her coat so shiny? Good grooming. Plus, Alpo 100% chicken and chicken parts, at least once a week. Chicken is rich in natural protein and calcium. Helps keep her coat glossy and healthy. Helps keep her healthy. Your dog will really go for it. Alpo 100% chicken and chicken parts in her diet at least once a week. Helps keep your dog healthy. Her coat shiny.
The Senate today refused to raise the tax rate on lump sum pensions. These are now taxed at the capital gains rate, 25%, instead of regular rates, which are usually higher. The Treasury Department had argued that such payments were, in fact, deferred salaries and that people in high tax brackets were using the system to delay income until retirement. In Farmington, West Virginia, a little over a year ago, a coal mine exploded, killing 78 men. Since then, Congress has passed a new mine safety bill. West Virginia miners have won compensation for black lung disease, and there has been a revolt within the miners' union. Tomorrow, that revolt will be tested in a union-wide election.
Until 6 years ago, the United Mine Workers Union was dominated by John L. Lewis. He raised wages and pensions to record levels, but at the same time he was virtually a dictator in union affairs. Eventually, health forced him to step down. In 1963, W.A. Tony Boyle, a Lewis protege, took over as president, and criticism of union high-handedness began to be heard. It got louder after Lewis died last spring, and union members began asking why they had no control, why district officers were appointed, not elected, why they had no say-so in contract talks.
I believe we need a change in this union. I think Tony Boyle's had it long enough. He promised promises. You know that song, Promises, Promises? We don't get it. Well, the man we've got in there never did do anything for us, sold us down the river. I think it begins to sound like a dictatorship. I think it's time for improvement. war as a dynasty, you know, and it got to be brought down. As the Union just going to get worse and worse. That's all.
In May, Joseph Yablonsky, a longtime member of Boyle's executive board, decided to run for the Union's presidency against Boyle.
Hello, Joe.
How you doing? Gonna roll him up this time?
For years, Boyle has never been any closer to miners than the stage at Union rallies. Yablonsky's challenge has forced Boyle to go to the mines now and do some personal politicking. It has not been easy for him. Sometimes he's been heckled, other times ignored.
Yes, fellas. How are you? How are you? All right. All right. Let's see. Got it. Hello there.
Adding to Boyle's troubles is a Labor Department report released last week. It charges Boyle and other top officials with paying themselves and relatives excessively high salaries, setting up fat retirement funds and expense account padding, all without consulting the union rank and file.
This act on the part of the Department of Labor last Friday is an obvious attempt by federal bureaucrats to use the United Mine Workers leadership as a target to break or to control this union.
The membership of our union want this organization to be the great trailblazer that it once was. They want this organization to lift up its membership and for this membership to be considered ahead of everything else. The hell with the officers.
Boyle is buying television time, billboards, and enjoys the powerful machinery of the union in this campaign. He also has 80,000 voting pensioners who probably see Boyle as the man who signs their pension checks. Yablonsky can only hope the sentiment for reform will outweigh all this. But even if he is beaten, the union is not likely to be as indifferent as it once was. Too many people, in and out of the union, will be watching. Fred Briggs, NBC News, reporting.
Sirhan has been on a hunger strike at San Quentin for 11 days, living only on coffee and cocoa. He sent the warden a letter complaining about the tight security around his cell. The California coast has been hit by high waves from a Pacific storm. Over the weekend, homes and streets were flooded in several beach cities. Hardest hit was an area northwest of Los Angeles.
12 to 15-foot waves have been battering Southern California beaches for several days, produced by large storms far out in the Pacific Ocean. These same storms were responsible for extensive beachfront damage in Hawaii last week. In California, the Pacific Coast Highway has been flooded at several locations. Nearly 100 houses have been reported damaged. No one has been injured, but some residents were forced to flee their homes when waves hit in the night. The Pacific storm is still going strong, and more high waves are forecast for tomorrow morning. Don Oliver, NBC News, Los Angeles.
There's no man in the moon. Now we know beyond a shadow of a doubt, because America has put man on the moon. We're conquering space, just as we were conquering space 100 years ago when America's railroads put man on St. Louis, on Portland, and on Wichita. Not as far away as the moon, but just as remote when there was no way to get there. America's railroads, without them, man might not be on Atlanta, or on Tucson, or on Houston, or Cape Kennedy. And without Houston and Cape Kennedy, man would not be on the Sea of Tranquility. And we'd still be in the dark about the moon. As a matter of fact, without the railroads, the space program might not yet be off the ground. America's railroads. Who needs them? You do.
The House cut almost $5.5 billion today from President Nixon's defense appropriation request of more than $75 billion. But it turned down a request to block deployment of the Safeguard anti-ballistic missile system. The Supreme Court again told Mississippi it has to desegregate its public schools now. The court turned down without comment Mississippi's request for clarification of a federal circuit court order covering 27 school districts. A presidential commission said today that daycare for the children of working mothers on welfare does not pay. The commission said the cost of daycare is more than the mothers can earn. West Germany and the Soviet Union today began formal talks in Moscow on the mutual renunciation of the use of force. The opening session was described as friendly and businesslike. The leader of the Rolling Stones, a rock group which attracted 300,000 young people to a weekend festival near Tracy, California, said today the event wasn't as lovely as he had hoped, and he couldn't figure out what went wrong. 4 people died violently, 4 babies were born, and many people were treated for overdoses of drugs. The New York Stock Exchange opened the week with a loss as the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped almost 8 points to a 3-year low. The price of an average share of stock fell 49 cents. At American River College in Sacramento, California, the psychology department decided some time ago that competition among rats did not have to be called a rat race. It could be a rat decathlon. So next Friday, the 8th annual rat decathlon will take place, and 6,000 people are expected to pay to see it. 24 rats have been in training for the event.
Come on, Bridget. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. There you go. Up. Come on. Get your head up. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yeah, come on. That's a good girl. Yes. Jackie, let's go. Come on.
Come on. Come on, Alice. Come on, good girl. Girl.
How far do you expect this thing to grow, or how far do you want it to grow?
Next year, I think we should go intercollegiate and have rat teams flying in across the country.
Come on. Go. Come on. Go, girl. Go. Go, girl. Good girl. Up. Up. Jack. Jackie. Oh, come on. Up. That's a good girl. Good grief. Good grief. You want a cookie?
Good night for NBC News.